Hello, my friend, and welcome back. Today, I want to talk about coming back to our truth and coming back to our oneness and using that almost as a tool to navigate anything that life might throw at us. And what I really want to reiterate and really drive home is that this life is an illusion. It is a dream, it is a simulation, and we came here to evolve. And I feel like science is starting to back up the fact that we are the observer and that the observer creates the reality. Therefore, it's not a reality that the observer is functioning in. It is a reality that the observer is creating based upon, they're showing it's based upon expectation and belief. And those are all things that we can use to our advantage. And just to be honest, I feel like in the spiritual community, there has been some alluding to, I don't know, maybe some darkness, or they're calling it a shift, a mass shift that is going to happen suddenly. And now my apocalyptic movie mind goes to the very extreme zombie apocalypse. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be like that, and I don't think it's actually necessarily determined, because we aren't, the timeline is constantly changing, and we just have to put ourselves on the highest available timeline. And that should be our goal, and we do that by raising our vibration and by asking that we are on the highest, most good available timeline there is. But what I want to say is that should this quote unquote darkness come, or this dark times, or anything like that, that is when we are going to put our spiritual teachings and our learnings to use more than ever before. I feel like in the spiritual community, it's very easy to go the law of attraction route, and that is also very important. Manifestation is very important. However, sinking into your oneness and sinking into the truth of you being the observer and there only being one consciousness, it is one large shared consciousness, and that at a very deep level we are all one, I think will help us to navigate anything that is thrown at us. And I don't want to say thrown at us in a bad way or a testing way. It is all just part of the evolution that we're going through right now, and it is only our judgment to it that we would say that it would be bad or dark. The universe would just view it as necessary. And through that truth, we could find comfort and solace, and we can find peace during any situation, because we know that everything is temporary, and at a very deep level we are all one. So every person is just a different version of you. So we need to keep that in mind if we are going to go through some darker or trying times, or if we start to see massive change that we might not see coming or might not be ready for. But let me assure you that you are ready, and we are ready for anything, and we can handle anything, and we can navigate anything, because if we couldn't, it wouldn't happen. We could only, life will only throw at us what we can handle, and it might test us and push us to evolve and to grow and to be able to handle those things. However, we are equipped to handle them. And the other thing I want to talk about that goes hand in hand with this is, yes, on a very grand level, we are all one. That is the truth. And that is the truth, the non-separateness. We need to not separate ourselves from anything. The planet, energy, we can't separate because we are not separate. So on that grand level, that truth is where you can find peace and solace if crazy things start to happen. Now, the other aspect of that is your journey right now. So it is a balance of the oneness, but understanding that you are also in an individual journey. And it is important to stay in your lane because, you know, we're going through a time of mass healing, and it might be, you might feel as though like that you want to tell people, you know, that are hurting, that there is another way and there is another struggle. And I did a whole video about this, but which is okay if you feel called to. However, understand that if they're not ready for that message, they aren't going to receive it regardless of how you word it. So that is where staying in your lane kind of comes in. The understanding, you know, let go of that ego, that self-righteousness that you know the way and that you should be telling other people the way. Because in reality, you don't know the way for someone else's journey because it is their journey and it is an individual journey. Just like a lot of people might not know, you know, what is right for you, you know? And I'm sure you can reflect back at times of your life where someone tried to tell you something and you just weren't ready to hear it, therefore you didn't hear it, that, you know, their words fell on deaf ears. And it took life to give you that lesson. So that's what we really have to remember when we're seeing others struggle and we want, you know, we're seeing this, I guess, like craziness, and you want to jump in there and get in there. And if you feel really called to something, then yes, of course, do that. But understand that working on yourself and that creating your own reality. So as part of the collective, as the individual that you are, I'm incarnate as Anne Sloan. So as being Anne, being this individual, I need to understand that things can be going on in the world, but my fractal reality, my shard of glass that is mine, that is my life, that is my direct reality, is fractal. And that is the reality that you can bend and that you can create. So you might feel fearful when, you know, you're hearing in the spiritual community like that the darkness is coming, and, you know, I don't know, people are saying all kinds of stuff, and it's always been that way. But, you know, instead of going into fear, because fear lowers your vibration, you want to even more be raising your vibration, understanding that your reality is created on a fractal level, that we create our reality on a moment-to-moment basis. There is nothing else besides this current moment. There is no past, there is no future. You may be able to think back a couple minutes ago. You can rewind this video and see a couple minutes ago. But in reality, you're not going there, and it is your perception of that time is what actually exists. That moment no longer exists. So because everything happens in the present moment, that we create our reality on a moment-to-moment basis. And something that has really helped me and has worked so many times for me is for me to think about and to speak what the highest possible scenario is for a particular situation that is happening currently. And so you can speak it for things a little bit in the future, but you can speak something, you know, when you're driving up to a light, you know, I'd love for this light to be green, and like, it's not going to work every time like that, but let me give you an example of when this really worked for me. So a few months ago, my dad was getting blood work done, and it was his routine blood work, and I asked that his blood work came back better than it has looked in so many years. And he went to the doctor and he came home and he said that his blood work looked better than it had in many, many years. Literally the same thing that I had wished for, that I had asked for. Because I just thought of that situation and I just thought of the highest possible outcome. And then I thought that I would love for this to happen. And I let it go. I didn't harp on it. And I have had actually many examples of that happening. So we need to start to use these tools and really implement these tools in times of need and in times of trial. In times of that changing, shaky ground. Now, like, I don't know intuitively, I don't feel things for the future. Like, I can sense big changes. I was sensing that like a really big change was coming right before COVID, but it didn't have a ominous feeling to it. So I have no idea if the darkness is coming or if there's going to be something crazy's happen. I feel like something crazy is always happening, but I feel like we have the tools to find peace and to navigate, and we need to release the judgment of what's happening because we are all one, in combination with creating our fractal reality on a moment-to-moment basis. It's got to be that combination. What I'm learning is life is very much You are a co-creator with the universe. You are a co-manifester. So it's very much coexistent together, a marriage. So we need to really implement our oneness along with our fractal reality, because that is how we can move through times of trial with ease and grace. And the last thing I want to say is just like, if you are feeling like something ominous is coming, or, darker energy, if you're feeling in those lower vibrations, it's not productive a lot of times to just be like, well, it's gonna be fine and it's gonna be sunshine and rainbows. A lot of times what can help release that negative vibration is to bring it to neutrality, to say, okay, everything happens for a reason. I believe that the divine is absolutely perfect, and the divine, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of plans and coordinates everything. So therefore, everything is perfect, because if everything is the divine, and the divine coordinates everything, and the divine is perfect, how could everything not be perfect? So you want to think, release that judgment of your zoomed in view and understand that everything happens for a reason. Absolutely everything happens for a reason. And it is not for you to know and understand the reason all the time. So if you can bring it into that neutrality of like, okay, I might not like what's happening right now. It might not be what I would choose. However, I'm going to go back to my oneness, and I'm going to go back to the understanding that everything is one, everything is perfect, and the divine is perfect. And I'm going to bring it into that neutral state. Once you bring it into that neutral state, you can then redirect yourself into a higher vibration. So it's not necessarily about bringing that particular instance and feeling into the higher vibration. It's not meant for you to see something horrible on the news and be like, I'm so glad that happened. It's for the greater good. You can have that understanding and bring it into neutrality. You don't exactly have to feel happy and joyous about it. You can just bring it to a place of peace. And then you can then redirect your mind into your reality and how you are feeling and your vibration, and then raising your personal vibration. So that is our message today about these dark times. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value from it. And I hope to see you soon, my friend.